Can you just explain it like I'm 5?
Welcome back to Explain It Like I'm 5, EX5 for short. We have a very interesting guest today, a good friend of mine that happens to be involved in the world of mascotting, or whatever the verb of being a mascot would be.
Mascotting, yeah.
And why don't you go ahead and say for the listeners and the viewers how you pronounce your last name, because this was a really good example, which is on our whiteboard here if you're watching the video.
Yeah, it's a fun name. It is Romanian origin. It is Iliescu, as we see on the board, Iliescu.
Adrian Iliescu.
Adrian Iliescu.
Let's talk a little bit about, when we met, you told me that you were a personal trainer.
Yep.
And the more interesting part was you said, I'm also a mascot. And I said, wait a minute, what kind of mascot? And you're like, well, I am a backup mascot for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm the mascot for Sporting Kansas City. And that's something we just don't think about, right? Like, they're a personality. You don't know the man or the woman behind the mask.
It's a thing.
And so I figured this would be like a really good platform to explain it like I'm 5, mascotting. And so, I'd love for you to kind of give the listeners and viewers a rundown on, like, how'd you land your first gig? How'd you get into this? Give me a little background on it.
Yeah, it is quite an interesting conversation starter when that comes up, that I do mascot work for a couple teams here in town. And first off, the job it's an amazing job. People would say, oh, it seems like it would be pretty miserable. You're hot, summer months you're hot, winter months actually you'd feel great because you're all covered up. But how I got into it, actually, it was in college. I was a college mascot as well at K-State, Willie the Wildcat. And the story goes, I basically had a couple separate friends mention on the same day that I should try out. Now, this was interesting because I didn't go to K-State saying like, oh, I'm going to be the mascot at K-State. And I didn't do it in high school. There's just kind of happenstance of like 2 friends the same day mentioned, hey, you should try out for the mascot. And, upon further thought, I was like, I think that'd be fun. So I basically, inquired about it, ended up trying out and ended up making it.
So before you go further, what's a tryout like for being a mascot?
Ooh. Well, actually, our tryouts were quite extensive. We're talking about obstacle course. We're talking about...
Really? Like, there's a physical fitness test to this. Okay.
Yeah. Different mascots are different. Different schools will have their different, procedures of, how their character is and what's required of the mascot. And in this case, you had to be pretty physically fit as a base standard. And just to see how I think most of all is how you function in the costume, how well can you see? Because a lot of people will put the head on and it'll look like they basically have their eyes shut and they have no idea where they are. They're like, oh, there's the wall. Oh, there's the table. So basically just seeing how you interact with limited vision.
Body control and spatial,
and
reference.
Character, you put the head on and it's like a light switch. You just pop into character and you just do it.
And you can't talk.
No, you can't talk.
Is that like a rule? Like you get banned from the mascot union if you do it?
It's frowned upon if you talk. Now, there's situations where you may need to talk. Say you're talking to a contact person, or you're talking to a coach, or you're talking to... Maybe it's just a situation where you really need to say something. But we're talking about 98% of the time, even if you're in a situation where, say, you're being harassed or, someone's bothering you, you never say like, hey, stop that. You always kind of have to play it off in character as much as you can or get out of the situation. But yeah, no talking.
So you try out, you pass this physical fitness test.
And an interview.
I
think I think the interview was the most important part, which you'd think, of course you'd want to see how they function. That was, 40 to 50% of it. But a lot of it was the interview because you have all these people on your team and you've been on different teams, especially in mascotting. You could be a great mascot, but how are you as a person? How's your character as a person? Are you going to be able to mesh well with everyone? Are you easy to work with? Are you
Because
you
you're a
know.
tangible representation of the
Absolutely.
school, of
Yeah.
the team,
Oh,
any of
yeah.
those things.
Absolutely. And that was, back in college when we would travel, say we're going down to another school or we're going on a tournament or something like that. And, you're representing, especially when you're wearing, the colors, you're wearing logo and people realize where you're from, you need to be acting accordingly. So that's very important. But going back to the tryout, we did a huge obstacle course. You're breathing heavily, we're running, and all of a sudden you have to interview under, you're uncomfortable. So you take the head off and you're a gasser. And all of a sudden you're being asked questions and you're like, well, hold on a second. And so that was always fun, especially because we had tryouts every year. It wasn't like, you try out and you're like on the team automatically, but you had to make sure to have a good tryout every year. And of course it helped you experience wise because you've already done it for a whole year, more than 99.9% of the people, but you had to still show up for that tryout. Absolutely.
So what's the like perks of being a mascot? So like you get into it and
Oh,
like
gosh.
obviously your friends see that you've got this personality, right? Of like you'd be good as a mascot, but it can't be about the pay, right? Like you don't make a lot of money doing this, right?
It all depends. The work I do, it's part-time work. So if I was doing it full-time, I'd be making more, but I had more responsibility. And it'll depend on the sport, depends on the team, college. You may or may not get scholarship money. I don't know how every school is, but there's perks. When I was in college, I would save on sporting tickets because being part of the athletic program, you would have tickets to every game. So you're saving that amount of money, which you could say you're getting paid that, depending on if you use the perk or not. But definitely being close to the action in sports.
Oh yeah, well, it's basically floor seats, right?
Oh yeah, field level. I mean, 4 years of season tickets was not too shabby. It was great.
So pretty good perks. What would you say is like the best perk other than being on the field? Like off the field, what's the best perk of it?
Well, off the field, I would say, because I actually was thinking about that. I've thought about this all the time I've mascotted. You're done with an event, you're done with a game, whatever it is. You may drive 4 hours somewhere. It may just be down the street. You may be in costume for 30 minutes. You may be in costume for 2.5 hours. But you always do these events and you realize you've made someone's day, no matter what you've gone through. It just feels great. So the internal
personal fulfillment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I had that instance, about a month and a half ago. I drove 2 hours out to a small town and I was doing an event. And basically the whole town was at this event, 1,000 people. And you're at this event. It was still when it was hot out. It was about 95 degrees. I was sweaty. I was hot. I was in the costume, just walking around, just, oh my God, I'm so hot. But everyone is so thrilled to see you because this doesn't happen every day for them. It's your every day.
Right.
Almost every day.
But they don't go to Chiefs games or sporting games all the time. They're not around that.
Yeah. And it was the same, the level I'm at now and the same in college. And especially, the fulfillment part is at K-State, it was confidential. That was a huge thing. At K-State was, you're not going around every friend like, hey, I do this, I do this. So it was kind of like you're walking around campus knowing you do this thing.
And no one else knows.
No one else knows. Of course, your friends know. You have people who know, especially after 4 years. But, you don't have it on Facebook. You don't have it on Twitter. You don't tweet out like, oh, I just made the mascot team. And different schools are pretty confidential about it. And
when you got the first gig as Willie the Wildcat,
yeah,
and you went on to do the Chiefs, is there like a training that you do once you get the job? Like, does the NFL make you go through these things? Like, I'm curious, like, once you do it, how do they teach you, like, here's what you do and all that?
Well, a lot of that will be with, whatever team you're with. You watch the people who've done it before you and you learn from them and you learn the process and you learn different mannerisms that each mascot has because, based on the costume, if you have a big hips, you're able to use the hips more. If you have a
like
big
the
head,
Chiefs.
The Chiefs
Googly eyes and big hips.
Googly eyes and big hips. You use those assets that you have as a mascot towards the character. And a lot of it. So nothing there's not like a global mascot camp. Now there's several, workshops you can do and stuff like that, but
Okay.
it depends on where you are and what you decide to do with it.
That was going to be one of my questions is like, they're like a mascot union, right? Like, are there like an organized union of mascots that's like, we're not going to take it. These conditions are too hard.
Nothing like that.
So no mascot union.
No mascot union.
So your grievances just go to your boss like you would anything else then?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's any job you have.
So I mean, you've been doing this for quite some time. What's the weirdest thing you've seen?
Oh, gosh. That's a great question. Well, I'll say you do all sorts of things. You do anything from tailgates to weddings to, I know in college we had, someone had the mascot at a funeral.
That was a diehard fan.
Oh, yeah. Now, I think that was probably more of a celebration, which it's a good thing to be at. But you're at all sorts of events, basically whatever someone would want you at, you would go to. Yeah, I can't pinpoint.
Has anyone ever tried to like remove, the head and see what's under there?
Oh,
or,
sure.
when
Actually,
people are
I
harassing you, what's it like?
actually found that more with, kids. You'd be at events and kids are like, "Oh, I can see your face," and you just kind of brush them off, kind of play it off. You definitely need to know. I'll say that one thing with kids, you definitely have to know your Fortnite dances.
So
Now, actually,
you're telling me you can floss.
Oh, absolutely. But actually, there's only 2 that I needed to know, and they'll work.
Okay.
Especially with, you have the middle school age kids. They love that stuff. And
That's pretty
you
cool.
bust out a Fortnite dance, and they all go crazy. Like, oh, my God. They just, Flosser, what's the other one? Orange Justice. And it's all fun.
So you're
It's
staying
all
up on
fun.
the trends then,
I try to, yeah.
which obviously must be one of the secret hidden things of being a good mascot, staying up on the trends.
Absolutely.
You don't want to
Yeah.
be doing dances from like the 70s and 80s here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What in this process as well, have you had any major screw ups? Have you like tripped? You fallen? Have you ripped some pants? What's the
Let's
worst
see.
that's happened?
Now, there is every once in a while, there's a mishap that may happen, if it's with a costume or something like that. And, that's one thing with having the right people around you, because when you're in costume, you want to do things that are entertaining, but you don't want to do anything that'll put you at risk with your safety and others' safety. So, you kind of have to, play off if you do fall or something like that, you don't fall as Adrian, you fall as, the character you're doing, you just fall and you play it off because you're a mascot. So if you're ice skating or something like that and you fall, you play it off and it's all good because you're a mascot. But no, I never had anything that happened. My head never came off or anything like that. But
I had an experience when I was really my first job
was it traumatizing?
was when I was 13 years old. The skating rink, Skate City, said that they
I
would
remember
pay us
that.
some free popcorn if me and my friends would be a mascot. And just in that one time that I did it,
Uh-huh.
a kid tried to pull off my head. He tripped me.
So you're
I
you're the mascot for the company?
I was a squirrel.
Nice.
I was a mascot squirrel for one time, and the kid tripped
It was
me,
the best
knocked
moment
me
of your
over.
life, wasn't it?
No, it was not. It was fun up until the kid tripped me, right? And that was not fun at all. And so I'm just imagining, I mean, you're a pretty positive person, so you must just let that kind of stuff roll off of you. So, yeah, what type of mentality you got to be to do this successfully?
Trip, never fall.
That's deep.
So you may say if I was here and I was doing something, you may trip over something. You always catch yourself. Now that comes with skill and experience.
It's the art.
It's the art.
It's the art of mascotting.
Art of mascotting.
Yep. So you've been Willie the Wildcat. You've been the Fox. You've been sporting.
The wolf.
The wolf. What?
Some people think it does look like a fox. Like someone
Well-
asked me, like, you look like a fox. I'm like,
I think the mix-up is because of the channel, the radio channel, 101 The Fox, right? And they're the ones that always cover it. So
Sure.
immediately you're going to start pinning those two together. I think it's a branding problem that needs to be addressed. It should be the wolf, right?
No, it's the wolf. It's always the.
how many other performers, at sporting, at these other ones? Is it just you, or is there like a crew of you guys? What's that like?
We have a team.
Okay.
We have a team. And the team's very good because like I said, we work very well together. We're on a group text. If there's appearance or something, head guy will send it out, and we'll all be like, who can do. And it was the same thing in college too. We'd have basically send out an event who can do Thursday at 5:30 to 6:30. Some people can't do it. Some people can. So it's basically a grab for events, or you'll be asked if you can do so and so event if you're talking to someone. But it was at college. That's we had a meeting every week, and mascot meeting, and in a secret location, deep, several stories underneath the ground, and we'd have to put our cell phones aside because you couldn't take cell phones in. No, and basically
I would not be surprised.
We would go over the week. If there's costumes we need to do, if there's skits we need to plan. It would basically just cover a list of events and go over what we're doing on game days. Planning ahead. It was just the time every week to address stuff that needed to be addressed, which is very rarely because, like I said, we're a very good team. But yeah, that's how we, scheduled appearances and stuff like that.
Is there a difference in, I guess the word I'm looking for is scale or overall performance level between collegiate and professional sports, or is it pretty much the same between both?
Well, I think college is a good kind of like you would have in sports. College is a high level. Pros would be even better because you'd have to have the interest to refine your craft.
Okay.
And refine your skill, and to see if, would you want to do this at the next level? Because a lot more responsibility, a lot more planning. Of course, the more experience you have in costume, the easier it gets. And like you said, keeping up with the dances you need to do and stuff like that. So the skill would come with the experience because, I had friends in college on the, mascot cheer and mascot team where, a yell leader would try on the head and he would not know what to do. And it was, that just comes with
experience.
It comes with experience. So that's the main thing. And then if this is something you would like to do, you just,
You
get better at it and keep going with it.
So is there an end in mind? Like, you're like, man, when I can't floss anymore, I'm checking out.
I'm checking out. No, I absolutely love the job. And that's one of the reasons I stick with it. Like it's been 9 years. Opportunities come up. You can keep doing what you're doing and just do it part-time, or I could excel and try and do it, full-time.
What's a full-time opportunity like?
Oh, full-time basically would be, if you're in baseball or you're in football or hockey or whatever sport you're in, a full-time position would be a mascot coordinator position.
Okay.
And what you do in that role is you're in charge of the program. Like me, I'm just a performer for the most part. I'll do other stuff that needs to be done. But as the coordinator, you're in charge of all the suits. You're in charge of who the other mascot performers are. You're in charge of in-game skits. You're in charge of payments. You're in charge of scheduling appearances. You're in charge of, whatever aspects of the mascot program entail, depending on, if you're in baseball, you're in charge of what a baseball mascot would do or a football mascot would do. And, a budget, stuff like that.
In professional sports, everybody's got a mascot. From your lens, do you see that there's an ROI there? Does it really add to the fan experience?
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, I think at almost any game I do, if it was college or now, there's always someone, a small kid who'd be like, oh, he's only here to see the mascot, or, oh my gosh, he's been talking about you all day and now he's afraid to come up to you or stuff like that. Like, he was so excited when you were way over there, but now that you're right here, you're a little bigger than he thought. Of course, if you ask a question like, kids scared of you? Are, because a lot of people, you always have to approach. You can't just, you can pop up on people and it's pretty funny. But kids, you have to kind of be careful because some kids are really scared of you. I think I was always very receptive to mascots, but some people.
I was not.
You weren't?
No, I didn't like the attention.
You were screaming?
Well, because they can't talk to you, right? And I never liked the attention.
It's not a real person in there.
It's just a mascot, man. It's just a character. No, I mean, I think, I don't know how my kid, I mean, I've got a 5 or 6-year-old and 3-year-old. I don't know how they would react, right? Because it's a real life animated character.
A lot of deer in the headlights.
Oh, sure.
So kid,
like you're in real life
and
now.
You can kind of tell when they're starting to, what is this thing? Kind of checking you out, like, and then a little hand. Some kids are very, it all depends on the kid and their past experience with mascots.
If you have a dream mascot that you could be,
oh my gosh,
what would it be? Like, you don't need money anymore and you can go be anything.
Well, you have a lot of the mascots that, some of the mascots that started the game. I don't know if I can answer that one. Some of them that started the game, I believe, Philly Fanatic was one of the first ones that really made mascotting a thing. And the San Diego Chicken. I got to meet the San Diego Chicken one time. That was pretty cool. Are you aware? Do you know what the San Diego Chicken is?
Well, I do, but explain for the listeners out there a little bit more about that.
Now, I wish I didn't come with an extensive history of the San Diego Chicken, but my experience was he came to a game I was working as an additional entertainment to the mascot of the game. And he basically had a huge routine that he did with refs and players and dancing. And I think the chicken had Barney with him. I think he has a Barney with him. And they break dance. They have a break dancing skit, which is really fun. But I know that's one of the big, one of the mascots that like travels around to different events all around the country. So it's pretty cool.
So if you had to say,
I'm sure internationally too. I don't know for sure.
So if you had to say what the most famous mascot would be, what would you say?
I guess I should know that question.
Well, in your eyes. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be about grand populace. I mean, I think the chicken is pretty iconic.
Chicken, probably.
It can't be Blue from Sporting KC. I mean,
well, he's relatively new.
Because while Sporting KC is very, very good,
absolutely,
he's an adorable puppy dog, and he's not as much of a character as say
adorable.
The chicken.
He's so cute.
He is an adorable
Look
puppy
at that cute
dog.
puppy.
What's the worst mascot that you think? Like, it seems like you liked the chicken, right?
Yeah.
What's like one of those where you just maybe don't care for, or you don't like the personality? I know this might be narking on your fellow mascots, but
I don't talk down on other mascots. We're all part of the same fraternity. We're one big family. Now it's kind of funny. Now on the family aspect, so I go back to college, and you're playing a rival school. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, KU. Jayhawks.
And I was in costume, and they'd be like, "Oh, go fight the Big J and Little J."
Correct.
Two mascots.
Correct.
Yeah. And it'd be like, go fight him. And, behind the scenes, you're hanging out with him and you're like, oh, okay, I'm sure I'll fight. Actually, one of my games, we did a mock fight and it was fun. So most fights, I think, are mock fights unless something hit the news and it's actually an actual fight. But I don't think that happens really much because all the mascots, like I said, the other team mascots, especially in NFL and the major leagues, they all know each other. So it's never anything like real conflicts between each other.
So it sounds like a pretty good brotherhood because you're doing something that is incredibly unique, right?
Yeah.
What's the male-female ratio?
It's definitely, I would say, just from what I've seen, it's definitely usually male.
Okay.
So what would it be? 90, I'm sure in the 90 percentile of men. Just facts of the matter,
Is there like a Michael Jordan or LeBron James of mascotting where you're like, man, that guy there, he was the first one to do a double front flip at an NBA game. Like, who's your MJ? Who's your LeBron?
Well, interesting you talk about basketball because different sports require different abilities. I can't do backflips. I'm sure if I worked at one, I could. I consider myself pretty athletic.
I believe in you.
Thank you. Belief. Yeah. But NBA mascots, most need to know how to dunk, and you're jumping off trampolines and doing flips. Now that it can be all done with practice. One who was very, aerodynamic. It was the old, not the old Milwaukee Bucks mascot.
Okay.
He did some stunt when he was like on a huge ladder way above the goalpost. Maybe like twice I don't know, probably twice. It looked like twice the height. And he was able to do a backflip and dunked it. And I was like, that would take some nerve to do. I believe he pulled it off, so it was pretty insane.
Is there any names behind the mascots that you're like, these are the guys that pioneered it to have fun, right? Is there like a guy or gal behind it?
Oh, well, Dan Mears, he's a legend.
So he's the MJ.
Oh, yeah. He is such a great person. Yeah.
So tell me more about him.
Oh my gosh. He actually has a book.
Okay.
He wrote a book on Casey Wolf. And he's just done great for, the mascot community, and is well known by I don't know if there's a NFL mascot that doesn't know about. Well, for sure NFL, but just people in pro mascotting definitely know him. Definitely a great guy. Great to work with. Great to work for.
How old is he?
Oh, I think he's in his 50s.
Okay, so
yeah.
he's pioneered the pro sports.
He created Casey Wolf.
Wow.
And it was kind of funny because I told him that he was at my 3rd grade class. And he got a kick out of that, which was great.
Did he inspire you to get into mascotting?
I wouldn't say that per se, maybe subconsciously. maybe when I was in 3rd grade, I was like, wow, that's Casey Wolf. That's going to happen.
Someday, I'm going to become Casey Wolf.
Someday. No, it's just great person to work for. I definitely was thrilled to join the team without question. When that opportunity came up, it wasn't any question to do that.
Well, how's it feel being a mascot for the Chiefs and the Chiefs doing so well right now?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't want to rub it in with anybody, but it's got to feel extra good being the mascot on the field and seeing that energy and seeing us do well. It's got to feel good, right?
It feels very good. And
do you thrive off that energy?
Yes, I do thrive off of it, but I thrive more off of, because they could be 0-5. It wouldn't diminish any of the passion that I have for mascotting, because like I said, I get, it's the fulfillment of making someone's day and stuff like that keeps me going. So, of course that is an added bonus is when your team does well, but to be like a deciding factor of, I only do this because my team's good. No, definitely not. But
you're not a fair weather fan. You're the mascot. I mean, you were always pro Chiefs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I grew up here, so it is a fun time. Grew up in Kansas City. So
if there's one thing you could change about mascotting in general, what would that be?
Air conditioning. Air conditioning, because I get asked all the time. I get asked all the time. They'll say, someone will say while I'm in costume, they'll be like, "You have any AC in there?" And I'll kind of, like, if you saw my face in it, I'd be like, "What do you think?" Basically, if you're wondering how it is to be in a mascot uniform, say, "What do you think it is?" How would you think it would be?
I mean, I think it'd be a heck of a lot like sitting in if you want a real description, yeah. I feel like it would be like sitting in the bathroom at Renaissance Festival here in Kansas City at the hottest time of the year. No, it's just the smells, the heat, everything is immensely terrible.
A couple points there. One, the smell. Potentially, you could smell really bad. But that is behind the scenes of making sure that your costume is always fresh. If I do an event, I have a place where I hang the mascot uniform up, spray them down with Lysol, and after several times, I will eventually have to wash them. So
there is actual maintenance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually have a whole room where I have all my mascot related work tools, and I keep them fresh because you have a bag that you transport it in, but you never keep it in the bag because that's bad news.
So
I
you
mean,
could get to smell it.
do you leave sweaty gym clothes in a gym bag?
Well, I'm sure some people do.
Yeah, when you take it out, how does that smell? That's
Immensely
basically
terrible.
how you would expect to smell. So that's why it's important after mascot appearances that you take care of your stuff, and it will last longer too. I mean, that's a great way to have to buy a new mascot suit.
Do
and that's
you buy the
expensive.
mascot suit? So is this kind of like when you're a waiter or waitress and you've got to buy your own like attire, or do they sponsor that for you?
Oh, all the in most cases it wouldn't be anything on my end besides gym clothes and shoes and your regular stuff you'd wear if you were to work out. But yeah, no, that's all team level stuff.
So tell me about underneath.
Underneath,
What are you wearing underneath there?
a huge jacket because you don't want to get too cold, and heat gear legs so you don't you got to keep the legs warm.
Okay.
Underneath the huge wool blanket you're putting on. No, I some kind of moisture wicking shirt, maybe just some free t-shirt you got from X event. But you wear workout clothes. So I'll wear compression shorts with a t-shirt.
What's the most important piece of your under wardrobe garment setup?
The most important piece?
Yeah.
How you feel internally. So hydration. Definitely hydration. Because I've had events where I'm like, I should have drank a little bit more water. And then the event's not going to go as well for you. I mean, you're still going to perform at the level you need to perform, but you're not going to feel so good afterwards. So your hydration internally is very important. And a lot of people, I feel, you got to keep pretty fit, which you would as a consequence of mascotting. You do events and
Sure.
it takes a lot of energy. But myself, I like to work out. And I think that's important because you want injury prevention, and you get used to the heat. You get used to, moving around. Some people just do that. I like to work out as well. So.
That leads to a really interesting question. What do you do when you got to go to the bathroom?
You hold it.
How long are you going to have to hold it for?
Well, it depends on your event. Because if you're doing an event over several hours, say a game or something like that, you're going to have breaks. You're going to get out of the suit. I'm never in the suit more than, 30 minutes to an hour at a time.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. So you have breaks. And if it's bad enough, you just get out of it.
Proper planning will avoid
It's not like
situations.
Knight's Armor where you have like certain openings to go.
Sure.
That'd be an interesting mascot suit. It doesn't exist.
And is this the ones that you've worn are typical mascot suits like zip up or they're like jump in, or what's the overall structure like?
Now it depends because in college it was literally a uniform, like a sports uniform of whatever sport you're
Willie the
doing.
Wildcat just got a head and then like a football thing.
Ooh.
What?
Just a head?
I'm a KU guy. It's just
I know,
a head.
exactly.
For
It
a
is
Wildcat,
a head.
It's just a head.
It is a head with the proper
it's like
sports on.
I feel like the budget failed with Willie the Wildcat after the head. They overspent on the head.
I disagree.
And then they're just like, what extra jersey do we have to provide this guy?
I'm not with this guy. I don't know this guy. I don't even know.
So that one's just a head. What's the wolf like? What's
the wolf like? It is one suit with the arms.
Okay.
Now the whole body isn't fur, so what the underneath, you have a nice mesh, and then you have the jersey on top, and then you put the shoes, which are tennis shoes, in the big shoes.
Okay.
And then your foot's nice and secure in there, and of course you have the head.
Is it heavy?
To the newcomer of mascot world, I think it would be a little heavy.
Okay.
But you get used to it. And it's supported because it's basically right
That's
on
why
your
you
head.
got such a defined neck.
Thank you.
You're really swollen in the neck and trap area from the mascotting over the last 9 years.
Are you a musclehead? No, mascot.
No, bro. I just mascot on a regular basis.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Coming towards the kind of final questions here,
Mm-hmm.
kind of more deeper and philosophical, which
Ooh.
you've alluded to earlier, but why do you do it? What makes you go, dude, I am energized to go out there and be this character? What is it?
It's that's interesting. You're part of a team. You're representing something that brings joy. And every time you go out, you're like, all right, let's do this thing. People love you or love the character, and like you said, you're making someone's day. You're bringing the feel goods, and in turn, it makes you feel good. So that's the main thing, and yeah, that's the best way I can say it.
To the millions of potential listeners and viewers of this podcast, what's the one takeaway that you want them to think about from your story and all that? What's the one thing you want to leave them with?
Mm. Well, one of my favorite quotes is, I hope I get it right, but you never know unless you try. And that's the attitude I had when I first tried out. When I first started 9 years ago, when I made the decision to try out or don't try out, it was, well, if I don't try out, I don't make it for sure. If I do try out and make it, that's awesome. If I try out and don't make it, at least I know. And
Right.
so, you could do it in life. You could do it with whatever your joy is, whatever thing you're thinking to pursue. You don't know if you don't try. And if it's something you really want to do it.
I can appreciate that
Yeah,
advice.
right?
There's a lot to be learned from the world of mascotting, right?
Yeah, because it goes deeper. Because it's more than mascotting. It's more than just getting in a suit. Which I think a lot of people are like, you're just getting a suit. Like, you don't even know. You don't even know.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. I think it's rewarding to hear that it's not just a job, that it is something that you really do take pleasure in the fact that you're making other people happy. This like you're impacting people's lives. I think that's pretty cool, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on EX5
Yeah.
and going through all these weird questions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And if somebody wanted to follow you on social media and see more about, where would they go?
Well, I have a Facebook account at Adrian Iliescu, and I also have Instagram, Twitter at api.kc, and then I also have a YouTube channel myself, not about mascotting necessarily, but about different books that I like. More of a personal vlog, I guess you could say. I have all sorts of different videos, but the Instagram for that is at api.tv, and the channel is Adrian Channel, and I'm sure we could put a link to that in this. But
and if somebody wanted to specifically hire you to come to a party as one of those mascots, what would they do?
Oh, to do that, you would. Now, I would like to say that you would come to me. Now, I could steer you in the right direction, but since everything is through the teams,
Sure.
you would, go to the team website. And this would be the same if you're living in Montana or Florida or New York or LA and you're wanting a mascot to come to your event. Go to the team site. There'll be somewhere where it's somewhere fan experience of some sort, and go to the mascot. And I'm almost certain you'll find the contact person for your team and for that person to reach out to, fill out a request form, and get that figured out.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate all the wisdom and advice. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you maintain this energy and you keep.
I love it.
I'm gonna blame you for all the wins from Kansas City. So I hope that you continue to be a part of this until we get a win here in Kansas City. So thanks again. Really appreciate it. Loved having you on the show.
Can you just explain it like I'm 5?